Greetings, all my little ponies out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you again with another My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode review. This time it's Season 9's episode 20, titled A Horseshoe In. Puns, we got 'em by the truckload. But we actually open up our episode with Starlight Glimmer being met by Twilight and Spike, as they're actually going over something we saw all the way back towards the beginning of the season, and re-referencing the fact that, well, once Twilight ascends to the throne of Equestria, it'll be Starlight's duty to run the School of Friendship, something that she really is happy to have received such an honor for. However, she comes to the realization that, I'll have to run this all by myself. So that causes her a little bit of a pause for concern. But as she meets with Trixie, who's a little bit pissy because she's her eternal waifu, and ultimately Trixie wants to monopolize on all of Starlight's time, she also points out the fact that Twilight didn't do everything alone. She had her friends to help her out, come up with lesson plans and classes and all that good stuff. So, Starlight realizes, okay, this is what I should do. So she talks to Twilight about having a, assistant head mayor, someone who can help her out, come up with all the curriculums, plans, all that good stuff. To which Twilight's all too happy to agree to, if it means that it'll help Starlight come to an understanding of what she needs to do in order to run the school effectively. However, overhearing that, Trixie believes that this whole entire assistant head mayor thing is something that she created just so they can have more time to hang out. And while Starlight tries her best to explain that, hey, I really need someone specifically good for the job, it could be anyone who's actually suitable for it, Trixie thinks that Starlight's acting coy, and simply believes that it's all a matter of formalities in a way to kind of get Trixie on the school board. So the whole interviews go underway. We see that Doctor Who's, Big Mac, as well as Spoiled Rich, Octavia, as well as Trixie have all come to interview for the job. However, Spoiled Rich is very snooty in how she wants to approach things, feeling that if she throws enough money at it, she'll easily get the job. So it's obvious she's probably out from the beginning, as there are specific kind of tiers as to what she believes that every one should have in order to become a good assistant head mayor, specifically in terms of being, a good teacher, as well as planning good field trips and, meeting with various parents, good communication skills. So that's actually a very good criteria. So when it comes to, subbing in for classes, we see that Big Mac, is actually fairly good with a needle and some thread. Spoiled Rich, unfortunately, feels that economics are more the way to go in terms of how to, show loyalty and all that good stuff. But when it comes to Pinkie Pie's class, music class, which Octavia excels at, she actually shows that she's actually able to have a good fun time with the entirety of the class. And with Doctor Who's, when it comes to their class in terms of fauna, he creates this Rube Goldberg machine that feeds this small animal. So, you can obviously see who has a little bit more of the head lead from there on out. Whereas Trixie just starts reading off from a textbook, eventually putting all the students to sleep. And, it just becomes a class on sleeping for the most part. So it becomes pretty apparent, that Doctor Who's Big Mac and Octavia will move up in terms of this, and who's not, specifically Spoiled Rich. But when it comes to Trixie, Starlight's hesitant because she really does want to be with her best friend. She does want to, run the school with her, but Trixie really isn't showing herself to be adept at this process. But as if on cue, in comes Trixie, saying that, okay, yeah, I understand, like a class on sleeping, it would probably be a no-go, but, once I'm fully into this whole school thing, I'll really take it serious and show you what I've got. That way we can hang out. So Starlight reluctantly still puts Trixie in the running. So when the next phase of the evaluation process gets underway, it's shown to be one where they meet up with the various parents of the certain, various different creatures from outside of Equestria who have all sent their children there to learn. With Octavia, she shows that she's very adept and is able to explain things in a nice, concise way, though she uses a lot of musical puns and stuff like that. But she's really able to show off what she knows, how she feels, and really makes Oculus feel like she's really coming into her own in terms of the school. When it comes to Dr. Who's, he's explained that Yona has excelled very well at science, and with enough time, she might actually be a very brilliant mind. Unfortunately, Trixie isn't having such a great time, as it's very apparent that Grandpa Gruff isn't really taking Gallius's learning all too serious, and he doesn't feel the need to be all the way out here just to learn what he's going through and what he's doing, which Trixie takes a great offense to. It's just like, hey, you're in charge of this boy. You should be taking some form of interest in his actual education, which she's kind of out of line with the way she's saying it, but she's not wrong. Grandpa Gruff should actually be interested in what Gallius is learning, if nothing else. Unfortunately, we also see that Big Mac is struggling in terms of, what he's saying to Silverstream's parents, as he's not really able to elaborate on how she's progressing. He's trying to make it sound like she's progressing well, but he's leaving too much wiggle room for it to be interpreted that she's not really learning much of anything at all. So he starts kind of floundering for the most part, and with Trixie, she basically kicks Grandpa Gruff out of the building overall because they just get into this massive argument. Although while Trixie thinks things are going well, it's very apparent to Starlight that it is not working out in terms of her. And whereas Big Mac takes not being able to excel in terms of this job pretty well, he understands that, yeah, okay, if it comes to communication, that's not really my strong suit, and he backs out from it. Unfortunately, Trixie still believes that she's got this in the bag, that she's an ultimate shoo-in, and that this is just a formality for her to ultimately get the job no matter what. And when it comes to the fact that the next leg of the competition is a field trip, she feels that she's got everything on lock if it means showing off what she can do, much to the begrudgment and disappointment of Starlight, who feels that this is doomed for failure. When it comes to Octavia's field trip, she brings everyone to a music hall, and Gallius is immediately not interested because it's just like, classical music, I know her whole thing is music, but I don't think this is my scene. Only for it to actually be kind of like a Lindsey Sterling-esque, performance with techno provided by DJ Pony 3, Vinyl Scratch, Octavia's roommate, which I love that this is now a thing. They're combined efforts, and they're just like a great power duo in the world of music. So Gallius immediately takes notice of this, and everyone's jamming out, so it really shows that Octavia was probably the biggest person to get the job. Dr. Who's, on the other hand, not so much, as he brings everyone to his lab, which is a lot bigger on the inside. But when it's found out that his whole showing is ultimately in terms of time travel, not too many people are convinced, especially when he shows off his, time travel device, which honestly doesn't really work. It's just sit in it, wait a few minutes, bam, you're already traveling through time. And it's even made even worse when it's found out that he doesn't really have anything else to show off. Like, there's nothing else to this little field trip. So he immediately gets, taken down a few notes, a few points. Meanwhile, Trixie Lulamoon's presentation, her field trip, is not in terms of actually going out and exploring, but in taking a little bit of the bog to the classroom, bringing the field making the field take a trip to them. Unfortunately, that bog is also the home to those, zap bees or spark bees or spark hornets, whatever they were called, the electric wasp thingies that Fluttershy had to deal with in that one episode. So they start terrorizing the entirety of the classroom, and after evacuating everyone out, Starlight goes in to deal with them, and it creates massive havoc all over the place. And, Starlight goes off on Trixie, saying, this was a disaster. You haven't been taking this seriously from the start. You almost got our students injured. This was a disaster. I can't believe you would be so callous in doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And Trixie's just like, but, I thought this was all just a formality because you were going to make me assistant head mayor no matter what. And, Starlight lies it all on the line, saying that no, that was never the point. It was to find someone who could actually be there and help me. You were right in saying that Twilight had friends to come in and help her out, but that they were able to help her because they had specific skills they were able to actually bring to the table. Instead, all you've done is just be full of yourself, flounder about, and cause havoc and problems at every turn. But ultimately Trixie's just heartbroken by hearing her friends say that. And that seems to be the crux of everything that really happens in terms of Starlight and Trixie's relationship. It's a lover's spat at every turn because they love each other so much, but at the same time, they really just kind of keep missing the mark in terms of how they should approach each other. But I also feel that comes from the fact that they've never really been this close with another person before. It's that awkward adult life and first love and all that. They keep hurting each other's feelings involuntarily. But Twilight comes upon this and fixes up the classroom and asks Starlight what exactly happened. And, Starlight explains that ultimately she, tried so hard to have her friend come in to work with her. She ignored the signs that her friend wasn't right for the job. And, Starlight has to come to terms with the fact that some people aren't suited for every job. And she probably should have told Trixie from the onset that how serious she was about this, and not let Trixie be led on into believing that she had a shot at this. If maybe she had talked to Trixie earlier, this all could have been avoided. So Starlight goes and talks to her wife in order to say, baby, come back to me. But, Trixie is feeling pretty down about it, and Starlight does say that, hey, when it came to your whole confrontation with Grandpa Gruff, Gallus was actually happy about that because she was really willing to go to bat for him. If nothing else, she really did take an interest in him and defended him as a person. So there's that in terms of what she was actually able to show in terms of how she could function as a person. Though she does admit that she feels bad for not taking this whole thing seriously because, Starlight was taking it seriously. She should have actually kept an eye out and saw how ultimately this was something that she was not a good fit for. This is something her friend cared very much a lot about, and she took it for granted. But ultimately, we also learned that when it came to Doctor Who's, he declined in order to focus more on his experiments. And Octavia, who was the best showing, decided to drop out, not wanting to, have too much of her attention taken away from her musical career. So that's a bit of an unfortunate situation for her. But, she talks things over with Trixie, and Trixie suggests that she needs someone, kind of like her, but also a little bit like Twilight in terms of organization, similar to Starlight's learning and ability and teaching skills, but someone who could also be a friend to her, someone who she would actually enjoy working with. And then Starlight, it comes to the realization, with the help of Trixie, that the best person for the job is Sunburst, as Sunburst actually is actually coming off of the fact that Flurry Heart has grown to a point where she no longer needs him around for the christening, whatever thingy anymore. So he has a lot more free time, and he always wanted to teach. He can actually put his knowledge out there, which is just like, that's something I didn't even think of. It's just like, yeah, he does make the perfect fit for this kind of a situation. And, Starlight actually says that, hey, that was a very good educated guess, and that's something that she noticed that Trixie does a lot of. She actually does help to encourage others. She, helps people talk things through and come to actual good conclusions and ideas with talking them through things. And they realize that she would probably be the best person to take over Starlight's old job as guidance counselor for the students, something which Trixie is all too happy to take charge of, although she does think that this office needs a bit of redecorating. So a fun episode. It's unfortunate that so many episodes that revolve around Starlight and Trixie are about their lovers' quarrels, though, because it's always like, oh, they just keep hurting each other's feelings in terms of emotions, but then they get back together, but at the same time, that's kind of stuff that, we don't see too much from the main six anymore, because we're past that with a lot of them, at least for the most part. But, fun times, good stuff. I always enjoy Starlight and Trixie's episodes, despite the obvious nature of where it's ultimately gonna go. I ship them. I've made it very apparent I ship them. So what? Sue me. But they make a good couple. And if everybody can ship Lyra and Bon Bon off of some background BS, then I'm definitely gonna ship these two. So, Starlight is putting together her own team of people to take over the School of Friendship when Twilight ascends to the throne. We're really going all in on that plot line. She is training to be ruler of Equestria, and I'm glad they're really taking this time to have side stories about that kind of stuff. That's the best way to really, bring our minds over to the idea of Twilight taking over in a proper, right fashion, and I'm enjoying it. It's unfortunate that this is the last season, because I'm interested to see where things could go from here on out, but we're wrapping up a few things here, so it's the best I could have really hoped for. So that's the end of this episode. If you liked this video I made, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike, and definitely leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. How did you feel about this episode? How did you feel about Trixie and her overblown ego always coming into play? How about Starlight and the fact that, she cares so much about Trixie, but she tends to kind of get walked over by her girlfriend because of all of that? And how do you feel about Starlight coming into the School of Friendship? And did you think that Trixie was in the right in the way that she told off Grandpa Gruff for not taking an interest in Gallius's learning and experiences? And who do you think would have actually also made a good addition to the School of Friendship? Honestly, I think Octavia would have made a good teacher for the school, at least in terms of music. That would have been a good addition. Big Mac has other strong suits, and even if he has some crackpot theories, Doctor Who's could have handled science. I feel like there's a few missed opportunities in terms of that. But we'll just have to wait and see how things develop in the last few episodes of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And if you want to see more, all the way up until the end, subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you never miss out on another review. And if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I'm everywhere for better or for worse. And until the next video, just remember that nothing's a surefire win. Sometimes you need to finagle things around to find where you fit in to the grand master plan. And until next time, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I think it's time for bed. Bye-bye.